Hi, this is the summary of the book 168 Hours by Laura Vanderkam, Part 5. As 168 Hours moves toward its conclusion, Laura Vanderkam focuses on how the principles of the book can be woven into the fabric of everyday life, not just as short-term time management hacks, but as a lasting framework for intentional living. She begins this final arc by returning to the core question. If you have 168 hours in a week, are you spending them on what really matters to you? By this point in the book, the reader has encountered a wealth of ideas, tools, and real-life stories. Now, Vanderkam helps synthesize these into a comprehensive approach to redesigning your time permanently. To reinforce the core concepts, she invites readers to look again at the list of 100 dreams, the running inventory of everything you might want to do, experience, learn, or explore in your life. This list isn't about fantasy, it's about surfacing your true priorities. In earlier sections, she introduces the list as a creative and clarifying exercise. Here, she reframes it as a strategic map for time investment. The idea is simple. When you recover wasted time, those hours previously lost to passive consumption, inefficient work, or unaligned obligations, you don't want to fill it with aimless busyness. You want to fill it with dreams. Vanderkam encourages people to extract a few dreams from the list and work them into their time maps for the upcoming month or quarter. If you want to learn French, schedule 2 30-minute practice sessions each week. If you want to start a blog, commit to one post every Sunday morning. If you want to reconnect with old friends, make one call each weekend. These goals aren't burdens, they're expressions of the life you actually want. The 168 hours approach is about living your values in time, not waiting for a better phase of life to begin. One of the most valuable insights Vanderkam delivers at this stage is that consistency beats intensity. Big changes often fail because they're unrealistic or unsustainable, but modest, well-placed time investments can accumulate into major progress. Writing for 30 minutes a day might not seem like much, but it adds up to over 180 hours a year, enough to produce a full-length book. Exercising for 20 minutes 4 times a week adds up to over 65 hours annually, far more than the average person achieves. These accumulated minutes can redefine your health, creativity, income, and relationships over time. She also makes an important distinction between urgent and important, a concept borrowed from time management theorists like Stephen Covey, but revitalized here with real-world examples. Many people spend most of their days putting out fires, responding to requests, answering emails, and rushing from one task to the next. These tasks feel urgent, but they often aren't important in the long run. Vanderkam urges readers to block time for important but not urgent activities, those that shape the future: strategic planning, skill development, nurturing relationships, rest, and reflection. In this context, Vanderkam reintroduces the idea of career capital, investing time in activities that build your future value. This could include professional learning, networking, or launching a side project that may someday become your main focus. Even for busy professionals, she notes that setting aside 2 or 3 hours per week for career capital activities can be a game-changer over several years. The same principle applies to family, health, or artistic goals. A few hours a week, protected and repeated, are more powerful than any burst of occasional effort. At this point, Vanderkam shares several composite case studies that bring the book's philosophy together in concrete examples. One profile features a single working mother who, after tracking her time for 3 weeks, realized that while she was working hard and caring for her children, she was getting little personal time and even less creative expression. She began waking up 45 minutes earlier to journal and paint, while the house was quiet. Over the following months, she added in a weekly writing group and began submitting essays. She didn't quit her job or hire a nanny. She simply reallocated scattered time into intentional routines. Another example centers on a young professional working 50-plus hours a week, who initially felt too burned out to pursue any personal goals. Time tracking revealed that although his work week was long, he still had nearly 40 hours of personal time, much of which was spent scrolling on his phone or watching TV. After reassessing his values, he set limits on screen time, added workouts during his lunch break, started volunteering on Saturdays, and created a Sunday deep work slot to develop an app he had been imagining for years. 6 months later, his energy and outlook had dramatically improved, not because his obligations decreased, but because his use of time aligned with his passions. These stories reinforce Vanderkam's belief that time abundance is possible, even in demanding lives, if you use your hours with intention. She emphasizes again that even high-responsibility individuals, executives, parents of young children, entrepreneurs, can shape their time around what matters most. The key is dropping assumptions like, "I'm too busy," "this is just a phase," or "maybe later," and instead, facing the full truth of your weekly hours. From that truth, choice becomes visible. One theme she revisits in these final chapters is routines versus flexibility. While time blocking and recurring schedules are effective, Vanderkam acknowledges that life is unpredictable. Kids get sick, meetings run over, inspiration doesn't always strike on schedule. The trick is to balance structure with grace, to commit to routines without becoming rigid, and to return quickly to your rhythms after interruptions. She encourages using tools like rescheduling zones or fallback routines, flexible planning strategies that preserve your core priorities even in turbulent weeks. She also encourages practicing mental time travel. Before saying yes to a new obligation, especially one that's weeks or months away, ask, "If this were happening tomorrow, would I be glad I committed?" This prevents the classic trap of filling future weeks with obligations that feel far off today, but become stressful in real time. This simple tool helps preserve future hours for the things that matter most. In terms of tools, Vanderkam reviews some of the practical resources introduced earlier in the book. Time logs. These help you see how your hours are actually spent, not how you assume they are. Revisiting these every few months keeps you honest and helps you recalibrate. Time maps. Weekly schedules with ideal time slots for key priorities. Used as a planning guide, not a straitjacket. Priority lists. Categorized by domain. Career, relationships, personal growth, health. These help filter tasks and decide what earns your attention. Delegation checklists. To offload low-value tasks at work and home, freeing time for higher-value contributions. Dream integration plans. Tools for embedding your goals and aspirations into your weekly structure. She closes by reminding the reader that living well isn't about being perfect. It's about being awake. Awake to your real values. Awake to your actual time use. Awake to the hidden opportunities in the margins of your week. Once you see time clearly, you can use it to build a life that feels both expansive and true. The final takeaway of 168 Hours is that we don't find time, we make time. We make time by choosing, by letting go, by designing deliberately, and by believing that our lives are worthy of intentional investment. Time isn't something that happens to us, it's something we shape. Vanderkam invites readers to carry this philosophy forward, not just to manage time better, but to live more deeply within the time we already have. With 168 hours each week, we have space for what matters most. We just have to claim it. Thank you for listening. Please stay tuned for next upcoming part of this book.